So, in this video, I'm going to talk about a recent movie that I watched. It talks about it is the movie named called Air. At first, I was surfing Prime to watch the movie called Moneyball because it relates closely to the concepts of MBA. But since it was paid, I pivoted to another movie called Air. At first, I didn't know what the movie was about. I made a just simple Google search and realized that this Air is of Nike Air, the model of shoes they had, and it has something to do with Michael Jordan, a baseball player. So I started the movie. So let me go through the let me take you to the entire journey of the movie. So starting, we see that the movie, the Nike was third in the sneakers market, mainly in the baseball segment, and the top player was Adidas, then Comet, then Converse, and the third was Nike. So, and here we get a glimpse of how the Nike company was as a structure. So it had a CEO. The company had recently went for public, and their old employees were there in the company, and the main was Sunny, whose job was mainly is to help Nike select players to sponsor them during in the baseball events. Then there were other stakeholders of the strategy meeting, and even we have a main player as designer. So what happens is that the company is facing a issue that their baseball sneakers are not performing well, as compared to the competitors. And when Sunny discusses this with his colleague said that Adidas is in trend because it is being seen everywhere in every sports event. Then similarly, the Converse was also very much popular, but the problem with Nike was that it was mainly a jogging shoe. So people used it for running purpose, and in that sector it was performing very well. It had, I think, yes, sold around 500 million dollars of shoes, or 500 million shoes in that segment. But the baseball segment, it was not performing, and they need to strategize a way in order to popularize the sneaker market and to gain traction of the sales in the sneaker segment of the baseball market. At the time, the companies were planning all the three companies were planning to sponsor the baseball players at NBA, because that will act as a marketing platform and help them derive sales. So they brought a list of around 20 players who could be a list of top 20 players who they can sponsor. But the problem was that Nike has a budget of close to 250,000 dollars, and their competitors had a much higher budget, and they had already booked the first two or three players, and Nike had to just pick up from the remaining players. It can't afford the bigger players, and they have already been poached by the competitors. So at first they had a discussion that they will split the $2,500 to sponsor 3 to 4 players, which acts as a diversification for them. But Sunny, who is the main lead of the movie, had different plans. He didn't find it a very good approach to sponsor 3 to 4 players, and he wanted a particular player to be sponsored, and based on his rationale, the and he was a very good he had a very good eye on baseball. He knew the nitty-gritties of baseball, and he had a quality that he can identify potential good players who is going to perform well in the tournament. So based on his analysis, he found out Michael Jordan as the potential client, potential sponsor. But the problem was it was already approached by Converse and Adidas. Adidas has already given them a huge offer, and Nike couldn't afford him. At first, he went to the CEO to discuss that if they could raise the money from $2,500 to double it to 5 lakh dollars, but the CEO didn't agree. Then he talked with the lawyer or the agent of Michael Jordan of how much the other two competitors were offering. He found out that it was close to $250,000, but the problem was that Adidas was also offering them much more incentives, like Mercedes car, and on that on that angle many more things which Nike couldn't afford. And he wanted to have a meeting with Michael Jordan, but the agent was not at all ready to schedule a meeting, and even Michael Jordan didn't want Nike to have a meeting with Nike. So Sunny took a very unconventional path. He directly went to the parents of the Michael Jordan to have a conversation with them. He traveled to LA and then had a conversation with the mother of Michael Jordan, gave him much insights how Nike can be a valuable for them. He gave him the examples what Adidas and Converse is going to say in the meeting that is scheduled, and what she need to ask, so that she can get an idea of what Nike can offer, because they have a much broader strategy regarding her son Michael Jordan, because they believe in them. So she went to those meetings and realized that Sunny was actually right, and they agreed to have a meeting with Nike. To prepare for the meeting, Nike deployed several strategies. First of all, they customized and built a new shoes that they can pitch to Michael Jordan. While preparing for that design, they they built a concept like the shoe will not be for the player, but the player will be for the shoe. So the entire shoe will be built around the theme of Michael Jordan. They then realized that there was a restriction by NAB of having a certain 60% of white color in the shoe, because else they will have to pay a fine of $5,000 per match. And they went ahead with that as they thought that it is going to be a very good marketing strategy, where they will be paying the fine and showcasing that Michael Jordan is being fined for being too much aesthetic. And they also realize that this new shoe range that they are going to uh, bring, they will name it after Michael Jordan, and hence the name Air Jordan, because they would like it will be a kind of affiliation to the Michael Jordan, his caliber, and people will be attracted to it. So these two changes were done in the shoe. Then they had a strategy to build a entire then they strategized how they are going to pitch it to Michael Jordan. They pitched it in a way that he will have a immortal character by being associated with the brand, because his name will be there in the product category, and hence he will be remembered after a long time. A famous quote that he said was in the meeting, in this meeting, when everyone's time is over, no one will remember them, but it's the Michael Jordan that remains immortal. And that connected with Michael Jordan. They in the meeting they also showcased. They made it a emotional. They offered him $250,000. The shoe was liked very much by the Michael Jordan, and they even proposed that they will create a shoe completely for Michael Jordan based on his say ankle specifications, knee specification, and after few days they were reached by the they were reached they were reached by the mother of Michael Jordan, in which she agrees that they are going that that Adidas has made them better offer. Still, they are going for Nike, but they want a clause that a certain percentage of revenue for every shoe that will be sold globally under the name of Michael Jordan, revenue has to be shared with their family. The Sunny knew the present context that businesses usually don't share the profit with either the employees or or the clients or the sponsors. And so he tried to convince her mother that that this is a very good deal of $250,000 for Michael Jordan, but yet she insisted and made him convince why she was asking for the offer of revenue share and why is it justified. After that, Sunny went to the CEO and gave him the entire briefing of what was on wanted, and the CEO, uh, seeing the convinced by the vision of Sunny, agreed to have a revenue share model, and the deal was finally closed. Then we see the after events of this thing that the Nike sold close to I guess around dollar $400 million of Michael Jordan shoe in the first year itself, and and then after around $4 billion of Nike shoes were sold under the brand name of Air Jordan. Jordan received around $400 million as royalty from Nike. He purchased the Mercedes car that Adidas was offering him. Nike also went on to purchase Converse, which was its competitor, which was performing much better than them when they had when they entered with a deal with Michael Jordan. And this way, and the industry was also the revenue model was also changed after this event, because now the companies have started offering revenues, a royalty to the athletes, and thus more money was flowing from the company to the athlete families. That was also a positive impact of this event, and there the movie ends. So it builds very beautifully around the vision of the organization Nike. At the first, it also shows what are the main mission and core values or the vision of the company, how it was built. One of which was to take an non-ideal path to make things done, in which Sunny took by directly approaching the family of Michael Jordan, bypassing the agent. Then they were taking risk. They one of the core principles were they were offense. They were always offensive, and here Nike were offensive by taking on Michael Jordan by hook or crook, and not being defensive like earlier approach they had taken, in which they were selecting 3 to 4 players eh, from rank 5 to rank 20, and not chasing the top player for NAB. So, and near the end, the CEO also have a great feeling, like it was that he got a feeling of how Nike was during his initial years when they had built the company. And this is the entire plot of Air. So the watching this movie will help you understand how the corporate runs, and how the strategies and missions are adopted, and how risks are taken, and a single risk, if it goes correct can transform the company. Because Nike, when once when it was struggling, it was considering that to shut down the baseball segment of its portfolio. Now it went on to purchase its competitor, which was performing much better than them, like Converse. So that's about it.